This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hello, and welcome to episode 109 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts. Thanks for joining me today. I am very much looking forward to today's episode. I look forward to all of our episodes, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't bring on the guests and have them talk about that because this show means a lot to me. More importantly, you mean a lot to me, so I want to bring things that you like. But if you've been listening for any period of time, you know that I am a wedding venue owner. I own a wedding venue with my sister-in-law in Colorado on our family sheep ranch. And so today, talking about how to start a wedding venue with Lindsay Lucas from Lean On Me Consultants was extra fun. And I can't think of anyone better than Lindsay to have this discussion with. You know, Lindsay has been a wedding planner in Texas for almost a decade. And something that's really interesting, when I first heard of Lindsay, I thought to myself, okay, if she doesn't own a wedding venue, how is she teaching on it? And never one to shy away from hard questions, I asked her that exact question directly on the podcast, and she answered it absolutely beautifully. She is so passionate and so dedicated to venue owners and future venue owners. I am just blown away by her dedication, by her integrity, and by her knowledge. You guys, she just crushes it. It was so much fun to talk to her. She's so open. She's so giving. She's so freely giving of everything that she has learned. And her answer to that question just, oh man, I love it so much. I'm not going to give it away because I asked the exact question in the episode, so you can hear it from her straight from the horse's mouth, as they say. I knew the answer because I've talked to Lindsay before. We've been friends now for almost about a year. We actually recorded an episode similar to this back in the spring, and I thought to myself, you know, with her course launching, oh yes, she's launching a course, and I'm going to get to that information in just a second. But with that launching, I wanted to record a newer episode. Not that the other one wasn't great, it was. But now that we're closer to the course launch, I wanted this episode to just be right on time. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about her course. It's called the Venue Academy. And honestly, I don't even want to call it a course because sometimes when I see online courses, they are sort of a theoretical 30,000 foot overview of what maybe could work for you in your business. And that is not the Venue Academy at all. The Venue Academy is, I've seen it. I've talked to Lindsay about it. I've taken it. I wouldn't promote it. I wouldn't affiliate for it if I hadn't seen it. She graciously is giving me access to the entire thing. But it's not a course. It's literally a step-by-step guide for current and future venue owners to absolutely crush it in the venue game. And I don't say that lightly. The other day, she made 60 email templates, like plug and play, customizable email templates. Just 60. Do you know how long it takes to write 60 converting emails? A while. It's worth the cost of the course just for those. But there are, 15 modules or something. I can't remember the exact number. There's so many, and they're all worth it. And literally, she starts with how to write a business plan to take to a bank to get a loan. What? I mean, who does that? Lindsay does that. So this is not a course of like, I guess you could try these Pinterest ideas and then they might work for you. No. This is literally do these exact things and you will have a venue, period. Right? Okay. I'm super excited to introduce Lindsay. Let me tell you a little bit about her. You know I like to read these bios. Lindsay was born and raised in the South where sweet tea and good manners are staples to surviving the Texas heat and strict parents. She describes herself as having a servant's heart and thrives most when helping others, which led her to create Lean On Me Consultants. She coaches wedding venue owners and those who are striving to be wedding venue owners on how to create a successful and streamlined business. She's most passionate about giving her clients a strong foundation to build a business that will give them the life they've only dreamt of. Her happy place is being barefoot outside with her son or trying a new restaurant with her husband. Lindsay loves church, sweet tea, and the latest business book. I want to tell you guys, I quickly mentioned it. I am an affiliate for Lindsay's course. So full disclosure, I am affiliating for this course because I believe in it. And do you know how many emails I've gotten about starting a venue since starting this podcast? Like 53. I counted them the other day. It's a lot. a lot of people want to be a venue owner, and I don't blame you. It's amazing. It's hard work, but it's awesome, and it's so worth it and so valuable. So here's the thing. If you purchase the Venue Academy, it's not for sale just yet at the time of this recording, but if you purchase the Venue Academy through my link, there will be some exclusive bonuses for She Creates Business listeners only. And I will go over those bonuses when they come out. The course is launching towards the end of the September as I record this. That's September 2018, but take a peek at all the links anyway, because I know that it'll just keep relaunching. And also we'll chat about those. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, but more importantly, head over to shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com/venue academy. That's shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com/venue academy, and pop your email in, and you will be the first to know when the course opens and what bonuses are available. The bonuses, what I have in mind, are exclusive one-on-one time with me, which you guys know I don't offer. Like, I don't do coaching at all unless I really want to. This is one of those times. I'm going to do 30-minute like one-on-one strategy sessions. This might change a little bit, but it's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm recorded some exclusive podcast episodes that are all about my personal venue journey, including mistakes we've made. I give you actual numbers and details. So how much money we spent on opening our venue, how much we spend in expenses, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm thinking like unlimited Voxer support for 30 days as you go through the course. So if you haven't used Voxer, it's like a walkie-talkie, so we can literally talk on our phones just back and forth. It's more fun than texting. So those are kind of what I'm thinking. Don't get me wrong. I might add a few things, might take something away, but it'll be 4 to 5 exclusive bonuses. So think about it. Head over to shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com/venue academy and pop your email in, even if you're just a little bit interested, and I will shoot you that information as soon as the Venue Academy launches. But today, Lindsay is going through like her 5 best tips for how to start a wedding venue, and we deep dive, you guys. This is almost an hour-long interview. So buckle up, get ready. Without further ado, here's Lindsay Lucas from Lean On Me Consultants talking about how to start a wedding venue. Lindsay Lucas, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You are welcome. And are you kidding? It is my pleasure to have you here. I'm thrilled to have you. We were just chatting offline, you guys, about about today's podcast episode, which is very near and dear to my heart. Of course, as you can tell from the title of this episode, we're talking all about starting a wedding venue. And Lindsay is the go-to person, in my opinion, for owning a wedding venue, starting a wedding venue, and all aspects and everything that involves. And if anyone knows what that involves, it's me and Lindsay. So I am really looking forward to diving into this topic with you, Lindsay, because, gosh, you have so much experience, and we're going to get into that. But of course, as I always do, I gave everybody your professional bio at the top of the show, but I would love, I have lots of questions to ask you about this topic. So give me the 2-minute rundown of who you are. You've been a planner for a long time, and what you're doing now really quickly, and then let's kick this off.
Awesome. Let's do it. Okay. So I'm Lindsay Lucas. I own Lean On Me Consultants. I did not start out being a venue consultant, obviously. I've been in the wedding industry for about 8 years now. I first jumped on the scene as a wedding planner, and I quickly built a team underneath me. And because of our planning company's reputation in the Houston area about 3 years ago, we had a ton of new venues popping up everywhere, and other vendors were referring us to the new venue owners who had questions, and they would say, oh, I don't know the answer to that, but you should reach out to Lindsay. She's always happy to help. And I would do site visits and get to know them, and they would ask me all of these questions, how are other venues handling this situation? And I have this really weird situation going on with the mother of the bride. How do I handle it? What's the etiquette? What are some potholes I should avoid? And I thoroughly enjoyed helping them. In my heart of hearts, I am definitely a servant, and I love helping as much as I possibly can. And so I kind of became this trusted friend. And they started calling me at dinner time in the evenings and in the middle of the night when they had to, deal with a crazy bridal party situation or what have you. And I started to realize that there was a huge need for this. And quite honestly, I started Googling, because that's the first thing that we always do, because I didn't want to turn them away without giving them somebody to turn to. And my Google searches weren't turning up anything. There was nobody else doing this. And so I hired a coach and said, I have this crazy idea, but we are definitely going to have to invent the wheel because there's nobody out here doing this. And
that's right.
if I'm going to do this, I want to do it the right way. I don't want to be the type, which I don't think that there's anything wrong with this by any means. But I didn't want to be the type of consultant that you just paid an hourly fee to pick their brain over a chai tea latte. And so I told her that I wanted to put together a specific curriculum for this that is step by step holding my clients' hands. And God bless her, she took me on.
She was like, let's do it.
Yeah. So we did it, and word of mouth just kind of spread. And before I ever even launched a legit business for this, I already had 2 clients.
That is incredible. And Houston, Texas, what a right place to start this business, because Texas, I'm kind of just making this up, but I really do feel like Texas is the birthplace of privately owned venues.
Oh my goodness. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, they're everywhere. So what a great place to start. And I think it really speaks volumes to your knowledge about the industry itself and your reputation for people to contact you and not like other venues. Well, that makes sense because I feel like people inherently, their initial knee-jerk reaction is to say, oh gosh, I can't contact another venue because they're my competition and they won't tell me the answers. And that may or may not be true. I don't think it's always true for everybody, but it just really speaks volumes to your reputation, to what you knew about the industry, that all of these venues were willing to quite literally lean on you and say, ask Lindsay, she's been here 10 times, she knows.
Right. Yeah. They were just such sweethearts for even recommending me. But, I love the point that you hit on as far as not recommending other venues. I will say that I think that you're a unicorn, and a very pretty unicorn at that. But as far as venue owners are concerned, they're much different than vendors as far as how they look at their business. And because a lot of them have investors that are breathing down their neck and that they have to report to, they want to hold things tight to the vest and not share any knowledge that they have, or worse than that, they're terrified to go and ask for advice or for questions. And there's not a huge community for them. There's not an intimate community for venue owners, a safe haven for them to go to and ask questions and give advice and lean on each other. And I really, really, that is the legacy that I want to leave in this part of our industry and make an impact on, is creating community with venue owners.
That is so true. There truly is not a community. There certainly isn't just a community of venue owner friends, but there's definitely not a community of education for venue owners. Katie and I really learned that the hard way. We truly, when we started this process at the end of 2015, we didn't even, yes, we Googled and that's really it. We weren't even truly, to be honest with you, it wasn't even in my mind oh, I wonder if I should find someone to help us. You know what I mean? I wasn't even thinking maybe there's a consultant out there, and there certainly wasn't. There just wasn't. That was 3 years ago. I know there wasn't. It was not a thing. And so it was really just a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of things we look back on, and there's good parts to that too, because you learn a lot of stuff and, trial by fire. But gosh, if there's a few things that we could have learned beforehand from somebody like you, it really would have saved us a lot of time, and in some cases a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. Building a venue and starting one from scratch, especially, it's the largest investment that you can make in the wedding industry. And going about it by trial and error is the last thing that you should do, especially when you have investors to report to.
Absolutely. We're really fortunate. We don't have public investors in our venue. We do have investors, but they're private. And so we have a lot different, and I think this is important to touch on. So, and we can talk about this a little bit too, Lindsay, but for our venue, we have a private investor. And so we have a very different payment plan, a very different interest rate. And that is not always the case for folks who are starting a venue that has a public investment company or holding group. And you might have like a traditional interest rate, which those all really impact your finances and can create just kind of this blanket of anxiety. But that's why you're there, is to really help them be profitable. I mean, I'll say right out of the gate, I know that you work up to everything, of course, but to have like a profit plan. So before we get into that, let's back up a little bit and let's talk to those people who are listening, who want to start a venue someday. It's their dream to start a venue. Let's talk about like the very first two things you tell your clients when they come to you if they want to start a venue, in the very near future.
Yeah, start saving now.
Okay.
I usually suggest, again, your situation is a little bit more unique with having those private investors, which is such a blessing. But usually with investors, you're going to have a higher interest rate. And so because of that, I typically suggest that if you can get your funding through a traditional bank, it is a little bit harder to secure, but the interest rate is going to be fixed and it's going to be a little bit lower than going through, an investor or a corporation. And so whenever you're approaching a bank, first of all, let's start growing that thick skin now, because I can guarantee you will be turned down by your first 1 to 3 banks that you approach. Most of my clients, prior to bringing me on their team, they get turned down 6, 7. I had one client that was turned down 9 times before she finally got a yes. So get okay with people turning you down, take it as a challenge, and, bow that back and just keep going at it. But yes, start saving that nest egg. Most banks are going to say that they will front 80% of the overall number that you're asking for. So I like to play it safe and say that you need to save up about 25%, just so that you can show the bank that you definitely have a lot of skin in the game and are committed to this.
That's right. And so before you go and ask for a loan, you've had to do that marketing plan, because you have to know how much you're trying to ask for, and you might need more than you think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. So start saving first, start building that up. While you're saving, start running your marketing reports. Make sure that the market that you want to be in is not oversaturated. I ran a report. I had a client come to me and they actually were fortunate enough to own 2 different properties in 2 different cities. And I ran marketing reports on both ones so that we can make an educated decision on which one we were going to invest in and start building the venue on. And it was a no-brainer. Both reports came back. One had 26 venues within a 30-mile radius of their property. I know. And the other property had 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And which you would not have known. I mean, they wouldn't have known, not necessarily, this is not to say like, oh my gosh, they probably don't know anything, but they don't know the type of marketing report to run to determine if there were 26 venues within a 30-mile radius. And I think that that's something that's so valuable when you're running those reports, when you're running those numbers, but when you're also talking to a trusted source who can point you in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. And, one of the things was those 26 venues, that was just that number was made up of the venues that had the same business model that they were going to have. There were more venues within that radius, but it wouldn't have been on the same level as what they were competing at.
My goodness. Okay. So running your numbers, saving now, what was the tip number 2? Did we get to tip number 2 or is that the first tip, saving now?
Yeah. Saving now, running your marketing report.
Okay.
And then once you have all of your information gathered and together, I like to run national, regional, and local marketing reports for my clients and then put it all together in one nice, neat format for them. We go through it and talk about everything. We pull the hard-hitting statistics that is going to be impressive to a bank or a lender, and we start building out their business plan.
So what's the value? When you're a wedding venue, you're very much local. And this, I feel like I know the answer to this question that you're going to say, but I want to ask. We're very much local. Now, of course, the wedding industry is very transient. There's destination weddings, et cetera, et cetera. That really depends on your location, I think. But talk to me about where you find value in national and regional reports.
Oh my gosh, yes. National reports, I typically pull the heavy hitting stats from there for that business plan. So, the fact that the wedding industry was a $57 billion industry in 2017 is just, it's mind blowing.
My goodness. Mm-hmm.
And then my reports will break it down and talk about, what that actual dollar amount equates to for venues specifically. And then we can break it down even further to the business model and speak to the expertise that the future owner has. But yeah, and then the regional report, what I pull from those mostly is going to be helping with marketing and advertising for my clients. Those reports are typically telling me what brides in that region are looking for, where they're going for their information, what social media platforms they're at, and just how they're obtaining their information and what they're looking for, and how to educate my client on this is how you need to talk to a bride. This is the information you need to give her, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, brilliant. So smart. Okay, so I know we're kind of going through this fast, you guys. It's only like an hour-long podcast, so we have to go fast. I know you're probably like, okay, what else about the bank? Lindsay can tell you that in another conversation. But let's say we're done. Like, we got through it. We were declined a few times, but now we have our we have our loan, we have our piece of property. We are like in the game. What would be the next steps for us as far as building our venue, getting things done, opening those doors? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So if you don't have property, you need to know what to look for in a property, first of all. And you need to know that I usually recommend finding 3 properties that you love within the market that you need to be in. And you need to be 30 to 45 minutes from a major metropolitan area. Having a rural venue is wonderful and majestic, but brides are going to go for convenience every time. And if they can't drive 30 to 45 minutes to a major hotel chain and get their block of rooms for their guests, or if they can't have, a nice restaurant to go to for their rehearsal dinner, if your venue doesn't provide on-site things like that, then those are things that you need to take into consideration. You also need to be looking for property that has some sort of attraction to it. It's one thing to build the most beautiful castle in all of the land, but there also needs to be some picturesque opportunities within the property itself that are attractive to brides and bringing them out there, whether that's a 500-year-old oak tree or beautiful mountains or a pristine lake, or even just an incredible view of a city skyline. Something that you can market and draws brides to, as well as your architecture that you're building on site. And then once you have your property and you have your funding, you need to make sure, before you have your property, one of the things that you need to take into consideration is where is that property zoned to? Can that property be commercial? If it isn't, if it's zoned for residential, do you have the opportunity to have go through the application process to get it rezoned and changed to commercial? There are a ton. It's really, really difficult for me to, without having a one-on-one client to educate on city zoning and permits, and it's so hard. Water is another thing. I feel like I'm just like throwing spaghetti at a wall and trying to like word vomit as much information as I possibly can.
No, you're doing amazing.
But testing your water and making sure that it's okay for public consumption, making sure that the property itself is large enough for a public well and septic system, and that you have that included in your budget. Most of them are a minimum of $50,000 and can get up there to, over $100,000. So things like that are the very unsexy things that most people don't want to think about concerning a venue. They want to talk about the beautiful architecture and the, amazing restoration hardware settee that they purchased.
That's right.
So I totally get all of that. And that's the end goal and what we want to get to with making our brides happy. But we got to set everything up right out of the gate.
It's so true. And I think it's a good time to tell people that a lot of this stuff, like if you have to go through a rezoning process from residential to commercial, it takes time. So something about a venue and building a venue, especially if you're building it from the ground up, and actually even if you're remodeling an existing building, you have got to be in it for the long haul, because it took us almost 2 years to open ours, and we already owned the property. It was private. We already have water rights to this property. And it still took a long time because we kind of had the opposite problem. It wasn't zoned at all. And our county didn't know what to do with us, because we were truly one of the first people in our area to do this. They were kind of like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? They almost wanted to make us a subdivision. And we were like, no. That's not what's happening here. So it takes time. Going through the county process it's different for everybody, but I almost wonder, and I'm kind of just talking out loud, but I almost wonder if a county has gone through it before. Like if you have other venues in your area, take that as proof of concept. Of course, like if you have 26 in a 30-mile radius, obviously that's a lot of competition, but take it as proof of concept. And I wonder what your experience has been with this, Lindsay. Do you find that the county process can be faster if they've gone through it more? If the county is like, oh, we get it, like we did this for a guy, and 45 minutes down the road, or is it always just kind of like it really depends on who you work with?
Yeah, I think it really does depend on who you work with. I think that some aspects of the process are a little bit smoother if the county has gone through it before, and you can reference another venue that falls within that same radius. But at the same time, it is very property specific. And so there are going to be little, holdups and stuff and hiccups along the way that, you just have to grin and bear and get through it. And, you'll make it on the other side and it'll be worth it.
Absolutely. And the only guarantee in construction and building is that there will be delays. So build those into your plan, build those into your opening date, because it's going to happen. Things don't always go as anticipated when you're building something, even when you're involved in construction, because to be honest, you're not just beholden to yourself. There's a lot of people involved in that process.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things out of your control. Whether,
so true.
If subcontractors are going to show up that day.
That's right. If they have all of the tools that they need. If the lumberyard had all of the 2x4s. Seriously. Okay. Amazing. Did we make that sound scary? Because I don't want it to sound scary. It can feel scary, but like Lindsay said, It's worth it on the other side. There is just things to be aware of. That's just realism.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't want it to sound scary. Okay.
No, I don't think it sounded scary. I would much rather be overly prepared than surprised down the road. So
fair point. Well made. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about and again, you guys, we're moving so fast. We've started, we're building. I venture to guess that you teach your clients to start marketing right away. Like you're not waiting for opening date, right? Talk to us about how you feel about that.
Yes. So I put a very specific marketing strategy in place for my clients. Advertising your opening date is super, super tricky whenever you're a venue. You never want to advertise that early and book clients earlier than what you are 100% confident in your opening date. The worst thing that you can do is hurt your reputation by having to push brides' wedding dates back. So we are prepared for the worst with my clients as far as adding in a contingency date within those contracts that they sign early. But at the same time, as far as the marketing strategy is concerned, we are very strategic with their social media and their online presence, with only stating in the beginning the year that they will be open. And then as construction starts going along and we are on a good timeline and we can see the end in sight, then we'll put a season attached to the year. So fall of 2019. And then, of course, as we get even closer, then we'll start announcing that launch date, that grand opening.
And do you start with a grand opening every time? Do you encourage your venues to do that? Like have a grand opening party, I mean?
I actually encourage them to have a vendor meet and greet first.
Oh, cool.
So, so a lot of times, I'm sure as you have experienced being a new venue, it's really exciting for other vendors in the industry. As soon as they hear of a new venue opening, they're knocking down their doors. They want to bring them flowers and gifts and business cards and introduce themselves and get to know them. And unfortunately, when you're a venue owner, more times than not, it's just you and maybe a business partner. And you're handling everything from construction decisions to design decisions to fielding email inquiries and responding to social media comments. Like you're wearing all the hats, right? Mm-hmm. So really what you need to be focused on is getting your venue up and running in tip-top shape in a timely fashion as promised, and responding to those brides and making sure that you're giving them face time first. I do think that it's incredibly important to build great relationships within your vendor community. So what I usually instruct them to do is, as those vendors are reaching out, be polite, be gracious, thank them for reaching out and just say, I would love to meet you. I'm actually hosting a vendor meet and greet. May I add you to the invitation list? Put their information down in a Google Doc or a spreadsheet. And then when the time comes, you host a vendor meet and greet before your actual launch or the grand opening to the public, so that you're building those connections and you're meeting those vendors face to face and getting to know them, and you're building your tribe. And then they already know you. And once you do your grand opening and your launch, then they're just those added voices to support you within your community.
I love it. So vendor meet and greet. And then they kind of have a sneak peek too. You're giving them that extra little, like, you are the first one to see this.
Yes, absolutely. And then brides are seeing it on everybody else's social media, and they're intrigued and excited for the grand opening. And it's just building that anticipation more and more.
That's lovely. Okay, so what's next for somebody building a venue? What I really would love to touch on is, I think this kind of gets lost. I actually think this gets lost after all these interviews I've done. I feel like this kind of gets lost in any business, but I know that you're passionate about really building a strong foundation business-wise, administratively. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that.
Yes, I spend a lot of time with my clients talking about their systems and the software that they need, and all of the automation that goes into that. So I actually will take their contract and see everything that they're legally bound to. We first write out policies and procedures for them that are specific to their business and what they need in order to run their business efficiently from their clients. And from there, I take all of that and stock, which we have a lot of conversations about the different CRMs that are out there. I recommend a couple of different ones depending on the business's needs. And then from there, once we make a really educated decision on which one is the best fit for them, then I take it on, get them all signed up. And I'm the one that actually goes in and stocks it and customizes it. And then we start having these one-on-one meetings to where I am showing them basically how to run their business. A lot of my clients haven't seen these particular CRM systems before. Maybe my clients are coming from the medical industry or attorneys, things like that. I'm starting to get this amazing shift in clients to where it's more vendors, planners, and photographers and florists that are wanting, they've seen all the venues and now they want to build their own, which is amazing. I'm so excited to work with more and more vendors in our creative space. But anyway, so teaching them the CRM system, getting those workflows and automation set up so they aren't trapped behind their computer and a slave to email all of the time. For a venue, they can have anywhere from 40 to 120 clients on any given day. And so just handling email communication is a lot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So making sure that they're running their business efficiently and their business isn't running them is the end goal.
That is so key. And I think I wanted to make sure I understood what you said. That's part of what you do when you're consulting, is you said you customize their CRM for them, like you fill it up.
I do. Yes.
Wow, okay.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of templates. That's a lot of automation. That's a lot of setup.
Yes, it is. We have conversations from the very beginning of the client experience when a potential bride is submitting that inquiry form all the way through a couple of months after the wedding ends.
That's so, I'm just thinking in my mind, like how long it took me to set up my CRM. That's a lot. Okay. That's a lot of work. And I feel like it's something too, that's for me, not the processes themselves, but you're always adding processes. Like as you add offerings or as you add services or as you learn things, because you can be prepared for everything, like prepare for everything, expect the best, but you are going to learn a few things and add a few things to your contract as you go.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But I feel like it's my CRM is sort of like a living thing. I'm constantly tweaking automation and seeing where I can improve and save time. Right? Do you feel like that's something that you see too with your clients, it's like, okay, here's the basis. This is a really strong foundation. Just know you're going to have to, keep this kind of like a living document.
Oh, right. Yes, absolutely. Which is why it's key that we have those one-on-one meetings so that I can
True.
teach them, and they, we'll set our computers up right next to each other, and I will be the test subject. There's a lot of role playing. They're driving through everything so that they're actually going through it as if they would with an actual client. Because I find that that's how most people learn best, is just by doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Like I couldn't even I couldn't like listen to someone tell me over the phone. I'd have to do it with my hands.
Yes.
Absolutely. Same. Okay. There's so much to consider here. I know we're truly, you guys, we're just scratching the surface. When I asked Lindsay to talk about this, I was like, listen, I know that we can't get into everything. We truly just kind of just barely scratching the surface of each of these sections. And these aren't even all of the sections to consider, but I feel like we're really touching on the high points that will give you a good idea of what's coming up in your venue journey. So this is great. We're close to wrapping up here, so I want to make sure we touch on a few things. And the kind of the final thing I want to touch on about being a venue owner is once you've had your grand opening, you've laid your foundation, things are set up, and tours are coming in. Like this is happening. What does that look like? What are your like top 2 or 3 pieces of advice for people for managing their leads, managing their clients, and turning a profit? Because that's what we all want, right?
Yes, absolutely. So in the beginning, I get my clients set up on a 3-tiered profit planning system. So depending on where they fall within their pricing, obviously their pre-construction rate is going to be the lowest that it ever is. And so we talk about their goal. We're looking at whatever funding they have been approved for from the bank and granted. And we have a very strategic plan within their pro forma that walks through the next 3 to 5 years, right? Until they're reaching that ROI and they're seeing that come in on a consistent basis. So bottom tier is your pre-construction rates. We break that down into 3 tiers. So if your overall goal is in 18 months after you start accepting bookings, not after you have opened, that 18-month mark, if you want to have 100 weddings, then your first tier with the pre-construction rate is weddings 1 through 33, 34. And then you jump up to the next pricing tier, which is based on a percentage. Once you hit that goal, then you're jumping up to your 3rd tier, which is your overall goal to get to within your first 18 months. If you're doing what you should be doing and you're attracting the brides and your marketing and advertising is doing what it should be doing, and you're basically just closing the bride by the time she gets to her tour and is seeing the property in person, then you should be at your 3rd tier by that 18-month mark. And that is when you're really going to start seeing a difference. You may, depending on your funding, you may not start seeing ROI at 18 months. It might be closer to 3 years or so, depending on, where if you took out 3 million, 5 million, whatever your case might be. But yes, that 3-tier pricing model has worked for the majority of my clients.
Okay. All right. And that made a lot of sense. So, and in case you guys, I'll just like break that down a little bit. So the 3-tier pricing model that she was talking about that Lindsay does with her clients is in tier 1. That's and correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, but in tier 1, it sounds like that's from when you start accepting bookings through, for number's sake, like you said, wedding number 33 or 34, right? And then after you book that and execute that wedding, then you move up. You increase your price, right? By a percentage, like predetermined percentage for weddings 35 through, I guess, what would that be? Like 73 or 72.
Right.
Okay. And then so on and so forth. Brilliant. Okay. I have a tough question for you. This is, I know that you're totally willing to answer this, but I feel like it might be on other people's minds, and you and I are totally on the same page with this, but here's the question. And the question is, Lindsay Lucas, you are not a venue owner, but you are a venue consultant.
Yes.
And you are 100% confident in that. I know why, and you should be. Tell us why you feel comfortable being a venue consultant, even though you're not a venue owner.
So first, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer this question, because I think you're right. I feel like it's on everybody's mind, and people are just, maybe they don't want to come off as rude and ask me directly, which I'm an open book, and have some
She
pretty
is, you guys.
thick
She really
skin.
is. It's
So.
the best. I love it.
But yes, I love this question, and I feel like I am a good consultant because I've seen it all.
Yes.
You know, whenever you are a venue owner, you are in tune with your business. You know exactly the way that your business functions. It's a living organism. You know the way that your brides are, what they're thinking, what they're looking for, but you don't see other markets. You know what's going on in your neck of the woods in Colorado, but you don't necessarily know what's going on in New York or in Maine or in Tennessee. I have clients all over the nation. I run marketing reports constantly. I see a ton of different floor plans and the way that different venue owners interact with brides and what works and what doesn't work. I see online presence that is awful, and I can tell you what not to do.
Yes.
You know, and coming from a planner background, the beautiful thing about that is the fact that I've had the best of both worlds. I know what makes a vendor happy to work with a venue and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And I can talk to my venue clients about that. And I really feel like there's this big gap for the majority. I don't want to include everybody, but as a whole, I feel like there's a gap between vendors and venues, and I want to work really hard and diligently to close that gap, to make sure that everybody is just working together in harmony, and the end goal is just making our brides happy so that we get that 5-star review and those referrals later on. So yes, to answer the question directly, I am not a venue owner. I have never been a venue owner. I do not have plans of becoming a venue owner. I very much love what I do, and I feel like I'm very qualified in doing what I do and educating venue owners and those aspiring to be, because I've seen it all. I have the experience, and this is a really funny side note. So part of my offering is I set up your business foundation, and I teach you how to make it profitable, and more importantly, how to make it sustainable. I've recently had a client that she went through 5 different contractors, and
oh my gosh, yes.
and they just did not get it. None of them got it. And they were sending her these, mock-up floor plans and CADs, and they were just so frustrated. And so on one of our calls, I screen shared with them. They don't live in my state, but so all of our meetings are done virtually. But I screen shared with them and was showing them examples of other venue floor plans and what worked, what didn't work. I told them, this catering kitchen is way too small. Catering teams are working on top of each other. I showed them a storage room that was too large and it was wasted space that they were being taxed on because it was air conditioned. And I just went through different scenarios like that. And by the end of it, and my intention was for them to pass these notes along to the architect and the contractor. And by the end of it, they just said, will you design our venue? And I was like, oh no, I'm not an architect, and started backpedaling.
But
right?
You really are.
So I did. I took it on, and I was like, okay, I don't have the software, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And I did it. And this past week, I flew out there and did our first site visit within their package and met with the contractor and the architect. And the architect offered me a job at the end of the meeting. But
Lindsay Lucas, venue consultant and designer.
But it was really, really fun, and I enjoyed it. But my point to all of that is not to do my own horn, but to say that I would not have been able to provide that one-off service for her if I was a venue owner of just one venue.
That's right.
I could only give her the design and floor plan that I knew, which was just from that one venue. But I essentially took 12 different venues and meshed them into the one that worked perfect for her.
That's so true, because and I'll speak to this, as a venue owner myself, you guys, there's quite a handful of things that Katie and I built or didn't build that for us is like hindsight now, and we're like, shoot, we should have added that. So there are things, and you know what, I hope there always is. I hope we're never just stagnating in kind of a cesspool of like, we're just going to settle for what we have now. But there's definitely things that we want to add to the property. And there's a few things logistically that we're like, gosh darn it, why didn't we think of that? Storage is one of them. And so but this is such a perfect example. We only know our venue. We only know what we're doing here. We didn't spend a lot of time like peeping on other people's venues, which I will say was really intentional because we didn't want to just adopt other people's style and taste unintentionally, but you're like subconsciously. But, you know, being able to talk to somebody like Lindsay could have saved us, you know, having to build storage this fall. But, you know, so it's just so hilarious. And I just love that you designed this venue, but like what a gift to them, because now they truly are going to have so much of what they need starting out. And they, you know, they won't have as many like, oh gosh, you know, hindsight is 2020 moments that they could have had they not had you in their life.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I'm just so thankful that they believed in me when I wasn't that confident. I'd never done that before. And I'm glad that they talked me into it because it was really, really fun. And it worked out to everybody's benefit. The architect was thankful. The contractor was thankful because once they could like see it on paper, it made sense.
Absolutely. And it really helps the working relationship go smoothly. And it also helps move everybody forward when the communication feels there. And it really feels like you're speaking to someone who's on the same page and you helped them get there.
Right.
Okay. I love that. And I just wanted to touch on something really quickly about my question about, you know, why you feel comfortable, which that was such a perfect answer. And of course, like I say, I knew that and I know that that's correct. But Lindsay and I were talking offline kind of about this question. And I just said, you know, what I have come to learn as a venue owner is that, and not even as a venue owner, it's really just for me, once you understand what all the vendors do in the industry, is that the wedding planner is truly the only vendor of all of us, you guys, that has their pulse on every part of the wedding. As a venue owner, I don't know what the DJ is doing. Like I do, but I don't. I also don't care. You know, like, you know, I care in the sense that like, I hope the bride likes you because we love our couples, but I feel like that's what makes us, I feel like, you know, we are a unicorn in the sense, like something we hear from our vendors at the end of the night is, wow, you're so involved. Like, I love that you're here. I love that you're involved. I love how much you love your venue. It's a little bit different for us because this is a family ranch. And so it's not just property that like we are going to pick out. This is like deeply personal on a almost century-old ranch. But you as the planner, Lindsay, have just had your hand on so many weddings, on so many different vendors, on so many different styles, so many different personalities. And I feel like it's the perfect segue to start consulting to venue owners because you're right. There is a bit of a gap. I feel like there's a bit of a gap between the venue and the other vendors. And I can't pinpoint exactly why. I don't think I can articulate that very, very well, but maybe you can. But I feel like you're the perfect person to just bridge that gap and bring that, you know, almost decade of planning experience into venue owners. Like for me particularly, it's funny because we're kind of going backwards. Like we're considering offering like day of wedding planning services because we're so deeply invested in our venue. And we're kind of working it the other way instead, you know what I mean? Instead of like being a planner, becoming a venue owner, we're kind of going the other direction. So I just feel like it's so natural. It's such a natural thing. Like, of course you would be a venue consultant. That's how I feel in my brain.
Yeah. Well, and I love that I have the background that I do. And I'm not like, I don't see it as a negative by any means. I feel like my background is more of a positive for my clients because I can speak to, okay, when you're building your venue, you need to make sure that you have adequate power for your DJs and your bands that are coming in. And you need to make sure that it's located sporadically. I mean, not sporadically, but, you know.
On separate circuits.
Yes. Thank you. I could not get there.
No. That's what I'm here for, sister.
Yeah. And then, you know, I can talk about, load in and load out for florists, and how, God bless them, more times than not, it's raining when they're bringing in all of the floral and they need an overhang. Or the fact that a photographer, when they're coming from a church ceremony, they're the last vendor to arrive on site and the bridal party is already at the venue. They need a designated parking spot so that they're not hauling gear from the back of the parking lot and running like crazy to capture that first dance. I can speak to all of these little nuances that they're tiny, tiny things, but they're what are going to set your venue apart. And when you please your vendors and you have vendors that are singing your praises, it speaks that much more to your business and having way more voices on you.
Yes. So true. This has been so informative. My head is exploding with ideas. What is next? Let's talk about what's next. What's next for you? What's next for your clients? There are lots of people listening right now who want to start a venue. Tell them how they can do that, Lindsay.
Oh man, so much is on the horizon. I am actually about to launch an online course.
Yes.
So because with my one-on-one consulting, it's very, very hands-on, and I devote a lot of attention to my clients. And so it's just me here in this business. And I only have the capacity to take on 4 clients a year and serve them well. So I couldn't accept everybody that was sending in inquiries and asking for complimentary consults off of my website. So again, I hired another business coach to help me take my 6-month curriculum and turn it into an online course. And it is a beast of a course.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I drastically underestimated the amount of time that it would take and how much information is in here.
Wow, it's a lot like building a venue.
Oh my gosh, so much.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so it's 15 modules, and it walks through everything from getting started, what to look for in property, if you're a vendor wanting to be a venue owner, how to conduct your own market research. I show you the exact steps that I use for my clients, how to write a business plan. It has a business plan template that is just plug and play for you to take to the bank. We talk about different in-house options, from if you wanted to have in-house coordinators or an in-house caterer or have an in-house bar. We talk about the benefits of that and added revenue streams. We talk about funding. Oh, my incredible friend, Brooke Olson of Brooke Olson Consulting, who is like a finance guru.
Mm-hmm.
She came on board and taught the funding module with me. And we talk about how to get funded, what to do once you are funded. And then we talk in depth about profit planning and what that would look like for your venue specifically. We talk about contracts. Even my one-on-one clients that have hired a corporate attorney to do their contract, I still review them, and I have not reviewed a contract yet that did not have missing elements in it. So the contract module talks about the main things that most corporate attorneys miss because they aren't familiar with the wedding industry and they're just going about like a normal contract.
Right.
We talk about policies and procedures. I give you a very lengthy PDF of policies and procedures for you to pick and customize to fit your business. The CRM module is insane. It is.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Okay, I didn't even think of that. I bet you showed everybody exactly what you do.
Yep, I sure
Oh boy.
did. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I edited out the cuss words, so you're welcome. But
that goes through her mind when she's filling all of these out. Please just work.
No, I'm totally kidding. But yeah,
I'm not. I definitely drop 4-letter words all the time, you guys. Okay, just kidding. Keep going.
But yeah, so I flip the screen and you get to see what 2 different CRM modules, how I stock them, the workflows that I put in place, the automation triggers that I have. I show you step by step how to set yours up and how to customize it. I'm
just shaking my head right now because I don't even care how much this course costs. You know why? Because even just the attorney part of it just the contract part of it, you guys. I'll tell you how much it costs us to go to an attorney and get our one contract written. We have a couple of contracts and a couple of forms that people sign, but our main venue rental contract, it cost us $2,300 just to visit an attorney twice and get that contract written. So let that sink in. Okay, keep going.
Oh, bless. Yeah. Yeah, those attorney's fees will get you.
They are, and don't get me wrong. Has it been totally worth it? Absolutely. It was 100% worth it. I would do it again, but I'm just saying that that's how much it costs to do that. And if you can mitigate some of these costs, again, like I was saying, we could have avoided some headaches and saved ourselves a lot of time and a lot of money if we had a consultant, or heck, if we had a course. I believe this wholeheartedly. I mean, here's another situation. We've done so much construction around here. It is a ranch, people. But we had a road situation where we didn't know we would have to. We built it into the budget, but we had to spend $25,000 just on an extra road. And we already had a road to our property. So think about that. Again, this course, like the price, unless it's like $1 million, which it's not, but it doesn't matter. I will tell you that even if you just have an inkling that you might want to start a venue someday, I beseech you to take a course like this before you do it, because you will understand everything that is involved. Like I said, we just scratched the surface on today's interview. You know what I mean? Would you agree? Oh,
absolutely.
Yes.
And you get lifetime access. So there's that.
Okay. So there's that. So she's going to update it, and then I'll be back. I'll be going to get this course to start another venue. Okay, great.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's even for venues that are already established. The
Agreed.
course isn't just for new venues. I talk about website presence, marketing and advertising, client experience, growing your team, how to hire, what to look for in people, an onboarding process with new team members, how to lead a team and inspire them to want to be as invested in your business as you are as the owner. That's a really hard thing to do.
Yes.
We talk about event management. You have pre-event checklist, post-event checklist, email templates, bride guide, which is so amazing. I think the bride guide might be my favorite, bonus that I'm going to be releasing. All of my one-on-one clients, that's the main thing that they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So it's basically you have everything in there for your venue that brides ask you. It's frequently asked questions, helpful hints, sample floor plans, random measurements of doorways where they want to hang garland.
Yes.
All of those are in there. Your policies and procedures, just to give them friendly reminders hey, remember, you have to abide by these catering policies. Absolutely everything. Your amenities, if you have rental add-ons that they can, rent from you. So everything is in there. And the idea is that this is your bride's Bible. And every time that they email you to ask a question, you are resending that PDF that they already have because you've included in your onboarding process with them. And you're referencing the page number. And eventually they are going to be conditioned and think, oh, before I email and ask this question, I should check my bride guide. And it's going to save you so much time.
So much time. So much time. We have one. We call it the Wedding Experience Guide, but it's everywhere.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's a lifesaver.
Tell me what else. What else do we need to know?
There's a resource toolkit that has everything that my venue clients use, from attorneys, recommendations. There's architect recommendations in there, systems, softwares. Oh gosh, it's jam-packed with stuff. But my very, 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 very favorite thing that I'm just so excited about is there's going to be a private membership site. Oh, and when I say private membership site, I'm sure everybody listening automatically just thought of a private Facebook page, and that is not what it is. It is so a long time ago, I was talking to a client, and they were just struggling with the fact that they didn't have anybody other than me to turn to and just voice their frustrations. There's such a lack of a community that is specific to venue owners. There's the Rising Tide Society, which is amazing and has changed so much for our industry, but there isn't anything that's specific to just venue owners. And so the tricky thing is like I mentioned earlier, most venue owners have investors and they're scared to admit when they're struggling with something or ask for advice, or they're even scared to give advice. And this private community is basically formatted like an old school chat room to where if you're comfortable sharing your name or your business name, that can be your avatar. If you are not comfortable, then you can make up a completely different avatar to where nobody knows who you are, and it's a safe place for you to come and ask questions and get and give advice.
That's really thoughtful, Lindsay. My goodness, because I don't blame anyone, because the reality is this. If we are within a 10-mile radius of each other, we are competition. And it's just not a good business decision to be like, let's share everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just not. Like, come on. Like, we
Right.
can be, we can be in community, but we can also be in competition in a fair way. That is truly brilliant. What a thoughtful addition.
Thank you. I have oh my gosh, you should see the Google Doc that is just for this membership site. I mean, we have everything from, I have an entire lineup of guest speakers that are already committed to coming on and answering questions for our venue community. Everything from an attorney that's going to come on and answer your contract questions to Brooke, my financial guru friend, is going to come on and talk about funding. I have an Instagram expert. I'm working on getting a Facebook expert. We have SEO coming on. So I'm so excited about it. And then, of course, I'll be in there often as well.
This is fantastic. When is this happening? So as we record this, it's August 30th, 2018. When is this launching? How do we get involved? How do we get on the wait list? What do we do?
Yeah. So, you can join my newsletter if you want to subscribe to my newsletter. I think right now as the opt-in, I'm offering a profit planner as the downloadable opt-in. And okay. I should be launching end of September is the goal.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
And these links everything will be in the show notes, you guys, so you can find Lindsay. So if for some reason you're listening to this at the end of September, or when it launches on September 13th of 2018, or even afterwards, follow the links in the show notes. You will find Lindsay and you will find this course. Cool.
Yay.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you're sharing this with my community, because there are so many future venue owners here, I think. I think a lot of people actually just thought, I didn't think I was a future venue owner, but now I might be. I cannot thank you enough. I know that you worked really hard to put all of this information together through your own experiences and through your own clients. And I just want to thank you for bringing it to us and truly helping us, hash out our own ideas, just being so giving of your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I'm so grateful just for the opportunity to come and be in front of your audience. And I feel so fortunate just to be able to talk with you as a venue owner, and you've been through it and you're obviously knowledgeable in this as well. So thank you for inviting me to come on.
It has been my true pleasure. Lindsay, aside from your newsletter, I'm going to pop everything in the show notes, but tell us where people can connect with you, like on your Instagram and your website and all of that. What's I can't talk. What's that information? Give it to us. I'm done talking. Your turn.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my Instagram is leanonme_consultants. Mm-hmm. That's plural with an S. And my website is leanonmeconsultants.com. And more than anything, I would love to just start a genuine conversation. So if you want to email me, even if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I would love to help. My email is hello@leanonmeconsultants.com.
There is power in consistency. Lean on me consultants. I love it. Lindsay Lucas, thank you so much for being here. It was a true privilege to have you on. And everybody, go sign up for Lindsay's newsletter so that you can be notified when her course opens. I will definitely be promoting it, and duh. I know what's in it, and I'm excited about it, and I want you guys to know what's in it too. So, Lindsay, thank you again for being here. I hope you have a really, really great evening.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.